This episode of Chicago Bears Central is going to have a little bit of everything because, of course, we got injury updates, both good and bad, from Coby Bryant and Ozzie Trapillo. We also got both the Chicago Bears running backs either talking about how they're going to take over or in midseason form already reportedly training camp. We're going to talk about the standouts from yesterday's practice as well and what it means for this team going forward. And, don't forget, we also got Chicago Bears football coming up in just a few days. We can't wait. So we're going to talk about the full state of the Chicago Bears and everything right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go into this content for today, y'all. So we got some new signings to the team. We also got injury updates. We got the standouts from yesterday's practice. And also, Commandant guy just put big words out and what could mean for him. But first, we're going to recap the injury updates from yesterday. Number one of the surprising updates we got yesterday was Ozzie Trapillo is ahead of schedule. The direct quote from Ryan Poles saying this. We talked about the different scenarios, whether he comes back as and has a little bit of training camp, if he comes back in September. I think the big thing for us is padded practices. If you get too far down the line, it gets really hard to get the physical practice that you need to prepare for games. What that means, and if we're taking Ryan Poles' words as a one-for-one and just he said exactly what he meant, it sounds like Ozzie Trapillo could be back for the Chicago Bears in as little as a month. This is well ahead of schedule when it comes down to it. Now, we did also get Albert Beer reporting that that Ozzie Trapillo was going to be back sooner than expected. At that time, I thought maybe he'll be back by midseason because he was expected to miss the majority of the season. When you look at Ozzie Trapillo and how last season he established himself as the Chicago Bears left tackle of the future, in the second half of last season, he then suffered that ruptured patella tendon in our preseason wildcard matchup against the Green Bay Packers where we got a win. And, of course, with him sidelined, Braxton Jones is expected to be the starting left tackle. But we also brought in Jedrick Wills. We also have Kieran Amagaje, who's played some snaps with the first team. And we looked at Kieran Amagaje as somebody who could get cut coming into this training camp period, right? So I think when you're looking at it right now is that the Chicago Bears, the offensive line may not only be in a much better situation than we thought with Ozzie Trapillo coming back, but it just means that Ozzie Trapillo is well ahead of schedule. Now, I do want to put out some realism here, right? It does not mean that Ozzie Trapillo is necessarily going to jump right back into the starting lineup. He could have a month. He can have 2 months. He can have a number of a ramp-up period to where he's playing some snaps. They're monitoring how his body reacts and recovers from it before they just throw him back out there and he's at every snap left tackle again. But it is a good sign. It's very encouraging, especially with all the injury news and bad news the Bears have gotten in regards to injuries that Ozzie Trapillo could be back out there. You look at this offensive line and what we have now in Logan Jones being that one of the things, right, that I've talked a lot about with this team is that the importance of depth on the offensive line, right? Having an offensive line that can keep up a standard even when your guys rotate in and out. It keeps your offensive line fresh. It also is a playoff advantage for you. If Ozzie Trapillo is going to be back on this team this season, he's going to be back as soon as next month or by the end of next month, at least practicing and ramping up to get back on the field, that would shape us up, barring any other major injuries by the end of the season, to have an extremely deep, offensive line going into the season. And don't overlook the importance of depth to be able to get, further in the playoffs and things like that, especially in the trenches. Like, trenches are what really makes a lot of playoff matchups. And so, therefore, it's a big one getting Ozzie Trapillo back. And you could be looking at a bench for the Chicago Bears that includes Jordan McFadden, who had a big game in last year's playoff game, Logan Jones, Luke Newman, Theo Benedict, Jedrick Wills, Braxton Jones as well, all coming off that bench. That's just the people that can come off the bench for the offensive line. If that happens, man, it's going to be fun to see for the Chicago Bears. So shout out to Ozzie Trapillo. Hope that young man is able to get back on the field sooner rather than later and just don't rush him. Allow it to come. It's going to come in time. And do not expect just because they announced that he's back at practice in pads that it means he's going to be back in the game immediately. But we'll see. Again, I guess don't count it out either. Then, of course, the news that we got yesterday that was devastating. Coby Bryant's going to miss basically the entirety of the 2026 season. He underwent knee surgery, which is going to leave him out 4 to 6 months, which, again, could be the entirety of the season. when you look at it. And so, that's the unfortunate part about the football season being as short as what it is, right? You're talking about January, your season could be over with. So, at that point, like, you're just not getting them back. It sucks. Initially, it was reported as an 8 to 10 week timetable. Of course, Ben Johnson then came out and said that they are, still trying to figure out how long it's going to be. But then yesterday, it was announced that he's going to miss 4 to 6 months. And, Ben Johnson said this in regards to losing Coby Bryant. Coby's a template of how we want our team to play. He was a big part of the offense, defense, and special teams. The mentality, the mindset, and the approach. We loved everything about it. Of course, Coby Bryant signed a 3-year, $40 million contract to come over to the Chicago Bears, and he was supposed to be the top safety right there with Dylan Thieneman as well. And so now we added Xavier Woods to this team. We still got Cam Lewis who can play safety and the nickel, and those type of things. And you're looking now at that and what that means for the Chicago Bears team. I guess we'll see, man. It's just disappointing. I mean, really, when you just look at it, the biggest thing you can pull away from it is it's just disappointing that that's where we are right now as a team, that we already at the start of this are losing, somebody who was supposed to be a big part of the way that we wanted to change how we play defense on that side of the ball. And so now Coby Bryant is going to go in the men. Of course, he can come back next season. We'll see if maybe, we get Ozzie Trapillo earlier. Like, I don't know what the Bears medical staff is doing. If we do get Coby Bryant back earlier to where he can come back for a playoff run or something like that, great. I mean, more depth is possible, but, go out there, recover the best that you can. And this is just, I wish I could say this is foreign for us Chicago Bears fans, but it's not. This is typically this is what we've learned to live and deal with over the last year, right? Like, we always have injuries, especially in the secondary. And I know Dennis Allen has to be very frustrated that it just seems like he's not going to ever get his projected starting secondary. And we know how important that is to the scheme that he wants to run. And it's just unfortunate. But, you got to deal with it. The next man up mentality is an important thing to have in football. And it's already become part of how the Chicago Bears play and our identity as a franchise. Now we're just going to have to continue it. So let me know what you guys think on that part down below as well. But now I want to shift from that to talk about the players that stood out in day 12 of training camp for the Chicago Bears yesterday. And number one was DeAndre Swift. Reportedly, DeAndre Swift looks like he's in midseason form. The veteran running back is stringing together strong practices after another. This comes from Eli Ong of WGN that says Swift took a pitch for a 38-yard touchdown while breaking multiple tackles in the process. Zach Pearson, also of Bears Report, said that Swift's runs are explosive early on during practice and noted that one of his broken tackles came against Dylan Thieneman, so the rookie there, sending the rookie on his welcome to the NFL moment. And he also says that it seems like Swift was the offensive star of the day, and hopefully that translates to a strong start of the season. The Chicago Bears running game was the backbone of it last year. And even though there were times where we got away from the running game where we shouldn't have, I think Ben Johnson's going to learn that lesson this season. We need to be a run-heavy team, not a run-reliant team, but a run-heavy team to where our run game helps us establish and set our tone early. When you set a tone with your running game early, and that's going to be up to DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai to do, what that does is that it tires out. It wears down the defense early. If you're able to do that and especially establish your run game early, that's where you can see the benefit. If the game is close down the line, that's where the Bears are going to be able to take it off and stuff like that. So it's great to see and hear that DeAndre Swift is already standing out in practice. You want that from him. He's one of your important veterans, and he's part of one of your most important parts of the way that you play football in the run game. And so hearing that, and keep in mind, this time last year, people were questioning if DeAndre Swift was even going to be, if Ben Johnson was going to like him or not, because Ben Johnson was the offensive coordinator when he left Detroit. And so, like, DeAndre has quickly become one of the most important Chicago Bears and one of the important scheming parts of this team as well, of how and what we can turn into as a team. So I love to see that continue for him. And, shout out to DeAndre Swift for, one thing I do acknowledge, and I think Bears fans have to admit as well, is that, hey, when we're wrong, sometimes we like to admit it. Some people don't like it. But, there are a lot of Bears fans, and myself included. I think I was at the place where I was like, hey, let's not just, judge him, but what is he going to do? Because the first year of DeAndre Swift was kind of questionable, but last season he showed a lot, and he showed his ability to be a running back one. And this is also a contract year for DeAndre Swift. So hearing that he's already possibly in midseason form, that's what you love to hear. The other guy that stood out, and you love to hear this, especially as he's returning back from injury, is TJ Edwards. TJ Edwards being back in team drills is great. And again, another positive injury update for the Chicago Bears, right? He had a long offseason of rehabbing that fractured fibula that he was dealing with as well. And that was and so leading up to training camp, there's some question if TJ Edwards was maybe even going to play at the start of the season and maybe miss the first couple of weeks. But he officially returned to practice last week. He had been doing individual workouts, but this was his first test. He was in 11-on-11s, and reportedly he made his presence known right away. According to Adam Johns of CHGO, he said he observed Edwards making a big stop on running back Roschon Johnson on a tackle for a loss, and it was a good sign as he works to regain his early 2025 form while competing for a starting spot alongside DeMarco Jackson. I don't really think TJ Edwards is competing for a starting spot. That part's from the article, but I'll say this. Having TJ Edwards, and you guys know I love TJ Edwards. As a linebacker, I think he is the perfect Chicago Bears linebacker and what he's able to do attitude-wise, mentality-wise. He was able to help in the run game and all those type of things. And this linebacking crew is going to be really important this year. I talked yesterday about the depth that we have there. The question is how quality is that depth? You have TJ, you have DeMarco, you have Devin Bush to go along with Keyshawn Elliott, Noah Sewell, Ruben Hippolyte, Jack Sanborn's back here, Nefa Sewell. Like, we have so many guys here in that linebacking core. You want these guys to perform the way that you need them to. And it's really good to hear that, TJ Edwards is ahead of schedule. I don't know how much he's going to play in the preseason, but use this to ramp up, because if TJ Edwards is back 100% ready, locked in, and over that hump by the start of the season, by week 1, that does nothing but help the Chicago Bears defense, a defense that already lost its starting safety in Coby Bryant. Moving on from him, the other guy that stood out in yesterday's practice was also Skylar Thomas, a safety, which is important. And I say it's important for the Chicago Bears because of this reason. With the safety questions being there and us losing Coby Bryant, you need guys that are depth. Of course, we brought in Xavier Woods. We have Cam Lewis that we can have there. Elijah's also hurt, right? You have those questions there. But this guy, Skylar Thomas, is an undrafted safety rookie out of Oregon State, right? And now, considering the things that are going on, he could be thrust into a situation where, he could have been looked at as a guy that stays on the practice squad. Now he may have an opportunity and a shot to be on the actual Chicago Bears team he has a shot at. And so hearing that he stood out, he got an interception off of Tyson Bagent is really good, because you want guys that have an opportunity to really show something differently. This guy's 6'2", 191 pounds as well, coming out of Oregon State. And you look at what he did in college. Again, college production doesn't always translate to NFL production, but his last year at Oregon State, he had 78 tackles, 42 of those being solo, 4 passes deflected, as well as 1 interception. If he's able to bring that, play inside the box, outside the box like Dennis Allen, if he's able to provide himself and prove himself to be a scheme fit, that's there. So, he got that interception towards the end of practice, and it says that he's even seen some time with the first team defense and could get extending playing time in the Chicago Bears' first preseason game on Saturday against the Cleveland Browns. You want to see guys make the most of their opportunity. And Skylar Thomas now has an opportunity that many people didn't expect, because our safety kind of rotation was, expected to be kind of locked in. With as many injuries as we have now in that secondary, Skylar Thomas now has an opportunity to earn a role. Does he do that? We'll see. But I love hearing that he's getting first opportunities with the first team defense. Preseason is about experimenting with players, putting them in roles and seeing how they respond. And so Skylar is just along with anybody else now, has an opportunity here. Let's see what he goes out there and does with it. So now watching him on Sunday, it's going to be really important to see how he performs, because hopefully he's able to perform really well. And then maybe the Bears have something in there in a gym that, Ryan Poles doesn't sign undrafted free agents without actually thinking they have a chance to make the team. Now he has a chance to go out there and prove it and provide some depth at a position that now unexpectedly has one of the tires down. Let's see what he can do with it. But with that said, I do want to move on from that and talk about this quote that we have from Kyle Monangai, because we talked a little bit about DeAndre Swift, who is his backfield mate, right? And Kyle Monangai, who was a 7th-round draft pick, ran for 783 yards, 5 touchdowns last season, right? And despite the 21 running backs that were drafted ahead of Kyle Monangai last season, he finished 5th in yards among the 2025 draft class, which just goes to show again, Ryan Poles found himself a diamond in the rough potentially with Kyle Monangai. But now he's entering year 2. And year 2 is an important a chance to prove that it wasn't a fluke in year 1. Kyle Monangai said this in regards to what is like playing running back and what it's like, playing behind Darnell Wright. He said this: easy because he moves, whether it's in whatever's in front of him. He makes it very easy. A lot of guys up front do. It's not just him, but I'll talk about him because you mentioned him. He does a great job. We all heard the news about the recent signing. No one's more deserving. Him as well as the other guys up front, they do a good job at making me and DeAndre Swift and the rest of the guys in the room have peace of mind knowing that they're doing their job. And then when he goes on to say, Press Taylor also talked about, Kyle Monangai and stuff, and he also talked about Kyle Monangai being poised to make a leap and how he's coming to training camp really focus in regards to things and in that how he's ready to attack, right? And so Kyle Monangai is in the perfect situation right now to continue his development. And that's what it comes about. He could explode in year 2. What he produced in year 1, keep in mind, being that he wasn't really a part of the game plan for a large part of the beginning of the season. He now has a full year of NFL experience. He has a greater understanding of Ben Johnson's system, which is what we're hoping that a lot of people are able to make that next step for because they are now more experienced in the system. We've returning a lot of the starters on that offensive side of the ball. A lot of the chemistry is going to be there. He's like Kyle Monangai in the quote I read already talked about how the offensive line makes the job easy for them, right? And so now you have a guy in that brings something. The pairing alongside DeAndre Swift, right? That's a balance act there in what they're able to do. Kyle Monangai is the bruiser. You can't take him down. DeAndre Swift more is the elusive guy. He's going to bounce outside those tackles and things like that. So I think when you look at it, the offensive line as well, the depth. I just talked about the depth of that offensive line, which could be much better than what it was last season. The coaching staff is also committed to making and building explosive plays this season in the running game. Kyle Monangai, paired with this offensive line and DeAndre Swift and Ben Johnson's play calling and the wide receivers and the tight ends and everything that we do, right? I think when you look at it, Press Taylor, the Chicago Bears offensive coordinator, explained the thought process behind the Bears offense, and he said this. I would tell you, I don't think Ben's ever mentioned the word efficiency. We talk about explosive. I mean, we're trying to attack a defense. I think there's a perception a lot of people are going to run the ball. We're going to stay efficient. We're going to control the clock. We're looking to attack the defense. We're looking to attack fronts, to expose space, to create run lanes, to create explosiveness. I mean, we don't look at the run game as a way to stay on track. We look at the run game as a way to attack defenses and really be explosive and continue to just put our foot on the gas the entire time. I tell you what, that's a hell of a fucking quote. That's a hell of a quote from Press Taylor in regards to how the Chicago Bears want to use this run game. The Bears aren't saying that we want to use the run game so we can take time off the clock, so we can extend the drives and possession. They're saying we want to attack the defense. We don't want the defense to attack us. We want to put the defense on its heels and make itself wonder, how the hell are we going to stop these dudes? That's a great way. And as a former running back myself, I love what a running game could do. And I said it at the top of this show. A running game makes everything easier. It makes everything easier when you're a threat. And this is why when you become a one-dimensional team, either running or passing the ball, it makes defenses easier to set in. But when you have a running back core like the Bears do, a 1-2 punch that also are able to catch passes out the backfield, which I think is an underrated thing by this running game as well, that is where you get into a position where you just can't stop the momentum. You can't stop the motion. That's what the Bears are trying to do with this run game this season. And I tell you what, it's a damn good plan and a great plan and one that I hope continues for this Bears team. So we're in a great place. I love hearing that quote from Press Taylor. Press Taylor, I've been nothing but impressed from what he's brought to this team so far and the way that he talks about it. Now, let's go out here and make it happen. Let's go out here and make it happen, and let's show that last year was not a fluke. This Bears team is going to be one of the best rushing attacks in football again this season, and let's go out there and do it. Now, one odds and ends thing before we get up out of here, I do want to talk about the Chicago Bears making a couple of signings in regards to the Bears have signed an undrafted center and they waived a defensive back. So just a couple of small roster moves. The Bears signed offensive lineman Wesley Finch, and they waived the defensive back Brandon Hill. French is a former undrafted free agent. He was out of Western Michigan. He signed with the Indianapolis Colts in 2022. He spent 3 seasons there. He didn't see really any game action as a rookie, but in 2023, he appeared in all 17 games with 3 starts, playing with the Colts, starting at the center position. He also then made stops with Dallas and the Cleveland Browns in 2025. He was on their practice squads. So this is a guy that you're bringing in, again, to add some depth to that offensive line. I think this is just another camp body, maybe somebody that the Bears wanted to take a look at in case of some things. It's typically what you see in that regard. But I think the Bears are kind of set at center. Garrett Bradbury, you got Logan Jones there. I think the Bears are going to be pretty good at center, but bringing in another guy as a way to take a look at some things, there's not really a negative side into that. For what it's worth, also, Brandon Hill, who was waived, was a former 7th-round pick by the Houston Texans in 2023. He spent his whole entire season on the rookie squad there. He suffered a season-ending injury during the 2024 preseason and then was waived in March because of failed physical. And then he was re-signed to the practice squad before being cut in December. So a guy that's kind of already been a journeyman at this point in his career. But That's for what it's worth. I, again, just wanted to bring that because we bring all the updates so you guys know everything that's going on with the Bears here. But that's going to do it for today's episode, man. Make sure you guys sound off down below in the comment section on all the topics down below. Let us know how you feel. How excited are you about Saturday's game as well? Oh, by the way, also make sure you guys go and subscribe to NFL Central as well. Bobby and Steve are doing great work over there. They're close to getting to 1,000 subscribers. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button over there on NFL Central. Support the boys. But other than that, you can follow us at Shy Bear Central on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearCentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.